All right, we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leisrealtalk. It's the start of another week. All right, tonight I'll give you a story of 2 trillion yuan, arms smuggling, money laundering, not laundry, laundering, families of China's top leaders, and an actor who died tragically. Yu Menglong, the actor who knew too much, had left behind cryptic cries for help. The question now isn't whether this was an accident. Everyone knows it wasn't. The real question is, how deep does the rock go politically? And who else would it swallow before the truth finally comes out? I remember at the live stream this weekend, a viewer asked me to comment on life in China right now. Others asked about the flood of uh, the flood of protests, post of protests of various scales. Now, I think the case most worthy of our attention and the one that captures everything going on in China today is still the death of actor Yu Menglong. And let me just show his picture. Okay. And here's why. Because it highlights the deepest fault lines in Chinese society, the struggle between those who have and those who have not, between CCP elites and ordinary citizens, between the government and the people, between good and evil, right and wrong. At the very top, those in power are terrified of the truth coming out. At the very bottom, those who have nothing left or have lost everything are demanding truth. And this case isn't just about justice for the actor. It also ties directly in the political landscape in Zhongnanhai. The struggles between Xi Jinping, Zhang Youxia, and the military. Some even believe it's linked to the Xi Jinping family's alleged embezzlement and laundering of 2 trillion yuan. The actor knew his life was in danger and pleaded for help during his final live streams. And now another figure has surfaced, someone believed to be the real secret son of Cai Qi, Xi Jinping's close ally. So that's how dark it is. It's dark enough to spiral into a political scandal that overthrows the top leaders. So that's what we'll cover tonight. Okay, so first things first, the case has triggered one of the harshest social media crackdowns we've seen in years. Yesterday, 11 days after Yu's death, authorities made an announcement. They said they had arrested 3 individuals who are connected to the case. But here's the twist. Not 3 suspects, not 3 killers, no, but 3 women accused of spreading rumors online about Yu's death. The first woman was arrested for saying that a powerful figure in Beijing was sexually interested in Yu and set up the party that led to his death. The second was arrested for saying Yu was tortured before he was murdered. The third was arrested for saying that Yu's mother and family are under surveillance, silenced by a formidable force. Authorities declare these 3 women are being dealt with, and it's very possible more people have already been taken away quietly without any public acknowledgement. At the same time, the Cyberspace Administration launched a nationwide 2-month campaign called Clear and Bright Action. Clear and bright. They said they would review every part of the internet, topics, trending lists, recommendations, bullet screens, comments, and so on. They would purge what they call 4 types of problems: extreme antagonism, panic and anxiety, online violence, and excessive negativity. Those are the 4 inappropriate comments that they will target. So in plain words, they're cleaning up celebrity rumor mills. But let's be clear, this is about silencing the case, the Yu Menglong case. And guess who runs the cyberspace administration? I mean, who oversees that function? It's actually Cai Qi himself. Just show a picture of this guy. Now, as authorities tighten their grip on online discussions, people notice something chilling. The actor's name has already been erased from shows that he once starred in on Netflix. Directors and screenwriters who were identified at that notorious party the night before his death, after being silent for almost 2 weeks, suddenly now are vocal, and they have issued threats against anyone who defames them, and they threat with legal actions. So these people all of a sudden are speaking up in defiance. So think of this kind of heavy-handed response tells you one thing. Yu Menglong's death likely touched on the most sensitive secrets tied to the very top of China's leadership. Everyone knows it, but no one is supposed to say it. Even this woman, Tiffany Chan, who is better known as Madame Xiang, the famously outspoken Hong Kong entertainment guru or mogul guru. Her husband is a big shot in the entertainment industry in Hong Kong, and she's very outspoken. She has to stay silent. During a recent live stream, many viewers begged her, saying, "Please, Madame Xiang, speak up for Yu Menglong." She sat there quietly for a long time. Then she let out a single sigh. No words. Finally, she typed one line into the comments section. "Everyone, please stop flooding the screen. I cannot talk about this." And that silence says everything. So what exactly is it that no one dares to talk about? Two things. First, the case implicates the family members of Xi Jinping and Cai Qi. Second, it involves money laundering, but not just any laundering. This is about arms smuggling and laundering of trillions of yuan by the Xi family. The figure being whispered about is staggering, 2 trillion yuan. Okay, so let's get to the bottom of that. In my Sunday morning program, I told you at the center of this case stood a man named Xing Qi. Yeah, this man, who many people thought was tied to Cai Qi, right? People believe he was the secret son of Cai Qi. But now new information has surfaced. It turns out netizens believe that Xing Qi may not be connected to Cai Qi at all. Instead, after digging deeper, online investigators identified all 16 guests who attended that fateful party. And the last person they exposed was a 29-year-old man named Cai Yijia. Okay, here you have it. Allegedly the son of Cai Qi. Now the clues are striking. He carries the same last name as Cai Qi. The resemblance is there. And if you don't think these two look alike, and there's a younger picture, there's a picture of him young in his younger years, and they look strikingly similar. And the other thing is, this Cai Yijia person was born in Fuzhou, Fujian in 1996. The exact time when Cai Qi was serving as a local official and working on his master's degree in Fuzhou. So his mother, many suspect, may have been one of Cai Qi's mistresses at the time. Now, this young man, after graduating from drama school, the younger Cai went straight into acting. And here's the odd part. Many big name stars were pushed into playing supporting roles just to make him shine. And then in 2017, the year Cai Qi rose to be a Politburo member. So in that year, or starting from that year, almost all traces of the younger Cai disappeared from the internet from that point on. You cannot find activities about the younger Cai from 2017, when the alleged father became a Politburo member. On the mainland, any online comment linking the two was deleted within minutes. And Cai Yijia's own social media accounts quickly disabled all public comments. So there's strong evidence connecting these two. Then there's the question, well, who is the other man, the 33-year-old Xin Qi, previously identified at the center of Yu's death? This guy. Where was this guy? Some claim he's tied to Xi Jinping's brother, Xi Jinping. And the whispers say this is why Yu Menglong had to die, because Yu was caught up in their money laundering operations and knew way too much. So remember in my last program, I told you Yu allegedly swallowed a USB drive containing sensitive information. The rumor is that he was tortured because he had gathered evidence of laundering, hoping to use it as leverage to break free from those controlling him. But he was too naive. So how do drinking parties, forced companionship, even sexual abuse tie into money laundering? Well, because China's entertainment world is basically a giant washing machine for dirty money. And this has been going on for decades. The methods are simple: inflate the costs or inflate the revenues. And they learned this from Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, the gangsters in Hong Kong got into the movie industry. Many of the crime movies made in Hong Kong were actually invested by the mobsters. But the movies they made were actually pretty good. Actually, at least these mobsters in Hong Kong were serious about making good movies, even though they were behind it. But the reason they got into the movie industry was so that they could launder money. Now, when it comes to China, it seems that the movie industry is more about laundering money than making good movies. So let's just quickly give you an example. So take inflated costs. Say a movie builds a palace set for 100,000 yuan, then blows it up for a scene. On paper, the studio claims it cost 1 million. So the extra 900,000 gets paid out to an outsourced company controlled by the investor himself. Just like that, dirty money comes back disguised as clean company revenue. And another scheme is the so-called yin-yang contracts with actors. Publicly, an actor they get a sky-high pay on paper, but privately, the real pay is much lower. And the inflated contract becomes the channel for laundering money. And then there's the inflated revenue, fake box office sales. A film claims record-breaking numbers, yet the theaters are empty. How is that? Well, because the investors secretly bought tickets in bulk through thousands of fake accounts. The money flowed into cinemas, got recorded as revenue, and after taxes, is cycled back into investors' pockets, nice and clean. So this is the machine Yu Menglong was trapped in. Studios under artists' names see huge sums flow in and out that have nothing to do with their actual work. Agents serve as middlemen for the laundering, and artists, no matter how famous, don't dare ask questions. They're just props. Their value isn't just their talent or fame, it's that their names serve as laundromats for the bosses. And here's the darkest part. Because the sums are so massive, the pressure is crushing. That's why even stars at the top still have to drink with bosses and offer themselves and comply. And they're chained to this network of power and money. And the rumor is that Yu Menglong had proof his own studio was being used to wash money, and that's what sealed his fate. Now, netizens even discovered multiple companies registered under Yu's name using the same phone number. And that same phone number was used to register dozens of companies under other artists' names. When you see multiple companies with different owners, but the same phone number, that's a sign, that's a giant red flag for money laundering. And here's another shocking twist. One of the 16 people at the party that night was a friend of Yu's. Where is he? Oh, this, yeah. And his name is Fan Shiqi. So like Yu, he's also a contestant in the 2013 talent show called Happy Boys. They have happy boys and happy girls singing contests. So public records reveal that many contestants from that same year of Happy Years or Happy Girls registered companies in a place in Shandong called Jiaozhou. And they registered their companies around the same time. And documents show that Fan Shiqi and Yu Menglong once co-registered multiple companies spanning medical services, medical devices, entertainment, agriculture, office supplies, and even military-related products. Okay, so here comes the tricky part. So one netizen looked up their companies in the business registration database, and he discovered something stunning. On September 15th, 2017, through a Beijing agency, Yu Menglong filed a trademark registration for a company called Shanghai Qimen Film and Television Culture Studio. The application number was right there. I even have the number. It's 26425601. But the category of the company, it's class 13, which is firearms and there's a word called pyrotechnics. Am I saying that right? Pyrotechnics. Okay. So the list of products included motorized weapons, firearms, gunpowder, pyrotechnic products, fireworks, firecrackers, even self-defense sprays. Now think about that. Film studios dealing in weapons. Why would Yu Menglong, an ordinary actor with no strong political background, own companies tied to arms and munitions in China, right? In the West, it could be a different story, but in China, where the government controls the defense industry. So the logical answer is he didn't. Someone else was using his name, setting up companies under him to move weapons and money, which suggests Yu wasn't just caught in showbiz corruption. It was being used in arms smuggling and large-scale laundering by elite families inside the CCP. Alleged insiders say people tied to Zhou Nanhai's top leadership were controlling artists from behind the scenes, using the mass registration of shell companies as a cover for laundering and arms deals, I should say. And if that's true, then Yu's rumored USB drive contained not just evidence of forced parties or exploitation, it may have held proofs of arms deals, illegal smuggling, and the laundering of billions, if not trillions. Now, coincidentally, just before Yu Menglong's death became a national sensation, whispers were already spreading about the Xi Jinping family embezzling military funds. The rumor had been circulating for 2 weeks before Yu died, and only now do I see how the two stories connect. It was said that this was the screenshot from the program. So it was said that Zhang Youxia discovered the Xi family had been siphoning off defense money to enrich themselves. And and Zhang Youxia's ally, General Liu Yuan. I mean, they spent quite some time investigating into this. And then Liu Yuan, who is Zhang Youxia's partner running the military right now. So Liu Yuan made the bold move of exposing it at an emergency meeting of the Central Military Commission. And Liu didn't mince words. He declared that Xi Jinping's family had embezzled 2 trillion yuan of military funds and secretly transferred it overseas. And he said it clearly. He said this wasn't a rumor. He had a report backed with solid evidence. 2 trillion yuan that should have gone towards modernizing the military, but it was instead funneled away by the Xi family under the cover of the Belt and Road Initiative. So that's how the money got funneled outside China. In his speech, Liu Yuan broke down the findings. Investigators even tracked where the funds went. The first route was to Southeast Asia, port constructions in Thailand, railway corridors, energy pipelines, all moved through family-controlled firms. And the second was to South Pacific and Oceania. Secret stakes in Australian ports presented as investments, but in reality, they were strategic footholds. And it is said that the Xi family holds extensive assets in Australia. Watch my video on Yang Lanlan, the $1 million crash by that 23-year-old young woman named Yang Lanlan, if you haven't already. And that explains the extensive holdings, assets in Australia by the Xi family. Chris, if you can copy the link here, that would be great. And the third place is Latin America, where Venezuela has become a key hub for them. And that's where large chunks of defense money were broken up and poured into the country's financial system. And the last is Middle East and Africa, disguised as port and industrial park projects, but really a way to seize shipping lanes and resource rights, building an overseas empire centered on family wealth. Now, this, okay, let me just first tell you what this claim, let me finish this claim. So General Liu revealed the military commission has already taken action. First, under heavy political and military pressure, the Xi family admitted to the embezzlement, and they promised to return about half, which is 1 trillion yuan, to the country. And the rest, the commission vowed, will be pursued until very last cent is recovered. Now, by the way, this whisper or this leak is in line with previous leaks that I've heard that the Xi Jinping family controls some African countries and some small islands in the Pacific, because their goal is when they are forced to go into exile, they're not going to a Western country. They're going to buy a small country, either buy one of the island countries in the Pacific or go to a small African country. So they have already invested heavily there. Okay, so back to the Yu Menglong case. So now I heard this the expose, the whispers of the above expose about Xi Jinping's embezzlement of 2 trillion yuan weeks ago, about a month ago. I didn't connect it to Yu Menglong's death until today, while researching his ties to money laundering, and the pieces fit together. So let me recap what we know. One, someone was using Yu's name to run laundering schemes and arms deals. This is confirmed by netizens. I saw the screenshots. There are companies registered under his name, supposedly in arms business. So that we know that. And then the second thing we know is his death allegedly is linked to family members of Xi Jinping and Cai Qi. And this is like 70% of the leaks, right? Number 3, his case has been suppressed more brutally than anything we've seen in years, with multiple arrests. And just to show you one example, today, there was an actress who spoke out in support of the actor. And when she stepped out, she was hit by a falling flower pot. So it was clearly a warning sign to her. And there are other people, and there was a Red Princeling who was a veteran, a PLA veteran, who now lives outside China, maybe in Japan or in Asia. And he spoke out in support of Yu on social media. And then he was summoned back to China. And so people worried about his safety. And he said, no, you don't need to worry about me. I'm not going to delete my posts. And because he came from a red family. So when he arrived in China, his posts were all deleted. He let people know that he's all right, he's safe, but his phone was confiscated. And there are other people. And if you really read, I mean, these people didn't name names. All these people said was that we want truth. We want to know how the actor died. I mean, that was just, I mean, it's perfectly fine. They were not like, you know, they're not accusing anyone, but even that's not allowed. So that's what I said. The case has been brutally suppressed, right? I mean, it's not something that we've seen in the past. And number 4, his murder was premeditated. How do we know it's premeditated? Well, here's the chilling claim that Yu was held captive for days before he died. And that would explain why. Now, during his last live stream, which was on August 29th, or maybe the 30th, he kept trying to send out signals for help. At one point, the video froze. So while his team scrambled to fix the lag, he slowly lowered his hand from his mouth and whispered 3 faint words, hardly audible. But when replayed carefully, you can hear him whisper, "Please help me." He also made the 540 rescue gestures, which I do have a picture. And maybe make this bigger. So this is a internationally recognized silent distress signal, often used in domestic abuse situations. And so here's how it works. So you open your palm, fingers out, face out. So that's 5. And then you fold your thumb across the palm. So it's 4. And then you close your fingers into a fist. And that's 0. So that's 5, 5, 4, 0. And in the screenshots, you did the gesture very subtly, almost hidden, because someone was monitoring him. So he couldn't be very obvious with that. And that's why nobody caught it at the time. But now looking back, it's clear that he was begging for rescue. And then came something even darker. Netizens noticed that his casual sentences in that live stream actually formed a hidden message. And this is what he said. If you read Chinese, this only can be explained in Chinese. So he said, today the weather's not so good. That's the first line. And then he said, the sky is full of dark clouds. The third line is, don't forget to take an umbrella when you go out. That's what he said. And then the 4th line is, recently I learned some magic tricks. And the last line he says, even death can be an art. So when you I mean, when you listen to, I mean, he's a performer, he's an artist. So people take these as just an artist expressing himself, you know, it doesn't really have any meaning. But if you look at the first character of those 5 sentences, right? Take the first character of each line and it spells, today they want me to die. Now, later fans asked about, in the same live stream, when his fans asked about the bruises on his forehead, because they spotted, you know, bruises, you looked at the camera and said, if one day I suddenly disappear, remember, it won't be an accident. Moments later, his agency forcibly cut the live stream. And that was the last time the public saw him alive. So he was trying to tell the world he was in danger. I mean, it can be just pure coincidence. I mean, at first I thought, well, maybe it was just, you know, coincidence. You know, the hand sign. Maybe he was just making that hand sign. But if you put everything together, and this line, this cryptic line message, it's no accident, right? He was trying to tell the world he was in danger. And let's put the timeline together. Now, the Xi family embezzlement leak, when did that come out? Mid-August. It was actually August the 18th. 10 days later, Yu Menglong appeared in a live stream, already in captivity, sending desperate signals. 11 days later, he was dead. So ask yourself, is that a coincidence? Was his death linked to the cover-up of the Xi family corruption? I can't say for certain, but judged by how brutal the crackdown on the information on the online, on social media has been, it has to be tied to leaders at the very top. Otherwise, it doesn't justify the kind of crackdown. So, you know, and then, like I said, you know, all these people who spoke up for you, you know, got either hit with something over their head, or they were forced to return to China only to have their phone confiscated. And all they said was, we want to know what happened to you. So this only confirms the belief that Yu's death is tied to the darkest secret of the top leaders, and most likely Xi Jinping. So aside from that, there's one thing that I'm certain, that is Yu Menglong was caught in a web of illicit activities, including money laundering and maybe arms trade, illicit arms trade. And for that, he paid the ultimate price. So his story is more than a tragedy of an actor. It's the mirror of a corrupt system where art is twisted into a cover for laundering, for sex, and for power. So the question isn't whether he died for knowing too much. The real question is, how many more must vanish before this rotten truth explodes into the open? So that's what I have about this case. But I want to share something with you. After my live stream Sunday, I was overwhelmed by the feedback. My editor, Chris, who has worked with me for 5 years, sent me a note saying it was a good program. And it was the first time Chris ever said that. So thank you, Chris. And then my high school classmate, now living in the US, texted to say how much she liked Yu Menglong, the actor, and how much she appreciated my work. And a viewer in Portland, Oregon, even sent me screenshots of the comments people left for me. So I didn't expect this. The only difference, I think, is that I put my heart into that program. And I have been reflecting on that. With all the technology tools, hardware, software that we have today, it's easy to focus on skills and forget the most important thing, the heart. And I looked back on the journey that I've been on for the past 5 years, it wasn't easy. For those of us born and raised in China, opening our hearts has always been difficult. The CCP left us with a lifelong burden of fear. Those 5 years as a YouTuber have been my chance to push through that fear and to be courageous. And I'm deeply grateful for this experience. And thank you for being there with me. I can't promise I will always be forthcoming or fearless, but I can promise this: I will always speak from my heart. For Americans, being honest is natural. You don't have to work hard to be honest, but for a Chinese from mainland China, you know what? Being honest is like being naked in the public. That's how a mainland Chinese feel. So, all right, that's just a little bit self-reflection from me. All right, that's all. Let me see what people have for me. Let me ask you a question. So what do you think? Do you think the actor's death is tied to Xi Jinping family's money laundering scheme or embezzlement? So if you think it's yes, type 1. If you think they're not related, type 2. If you're not sure, type 3. I want to see what you think. Let's do some, in the comment section. 1, if you think they're related. 2, if you think they're not. And 3, if you're not sure. All right. Let's see. All right, I'm just quickly going through questions. Some people say, oh, yeah. And Chris, if you could just copy the Yang Lanlan video so you understand the influence the Xi family has in Australia. So that will be helpful. Netflix foreign. I saw the latest story on China Observer. It was a fake food. It was on fake food, and they talked about deceased human beings may be used as meat and supplements there. Yeah, it's very troubling. That scandal has been uncovered a while ago. I cannot talk about that. It's too mentally disturbing, but it is true. Yeah. You wonder where people have gone, with the amount of casualties that we talked about. You wonder where people have gone, right? The bodies. Alan Mandel. Well, thank you, Alan. 111. Wow, we have so many ones. Some 2, 1, 2, 1, 3. Oh my goodness, they're all ones. Some 3s. Yeah. Okay, 3s. There are more 3s than 2s. Okay, yeah. I only see 1, 2 so far. So it's all 1s and some 3s. Oh, there are a few 2s. And this is 69. Nelly Gentry. Well, thank you, Nelly. All right, let's see. Someone said because Yumong was a Uyghur, and that's why he was oppressed and eliminated. That's possibly one reason, or one of the reasons. All right. Oh, there's so many ones. Okay. All right. Good. Let me see. I want to address. Well, there's so many ones. Well, thank you. He was scared for his life. There's so many videos being leaked right now. And you wonder. I was curious. I had one question. How did the atrocities being filmed I mean, there were just so many videos. So unless there were some people, unless there was set up, there were some insiders from Xi's opposition trying to use this as a weapon against Xi Jinping, right? How could that's just something? There's just more and more videos being leaked out. I mean, I can't, it's troubling to watch the videos. So, and some may be taken by the neighbors. And people are selling their home in that neighborhood. And because a lot of these people, the people who attended the party, they live in that community. And this wasn't the first time that such a case had happened in that community. So now ordinary people who live in it's one of the very nice and upscale communities in Beijing. Now people are selling. People don't want to live there. Like right after this, people are selling like crazy. I mean, I wouldn't. Who want to be neighbors with these monsters? So yeah. All right. M. All right, M. Your efforts are appreciated from Brisbane, Australia. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's see. Okay. Oh, here's Weslack. Maybe they will connect this to Xi and Zhang. Zhang will capitalize. Yeah, maybe. I mean, the other I mean, it may not be related to Xi Jinping, although there are a lot of people saying it is. It is tied to the Xi family. It could be that it's possible that it's tied to both Xi Jinping and Cai Qi. They're in this together. Both of their families are in this together. So now, even if Xi Jinping is not, but because the level of cover up, his opponents can use that against him. People can blame it on him. They could say, well, if it's not your family, then why are you so scared of letting us know? Right? So and then his political enemies can use this public sentiment against him. So made him look like he's guilty, even if he's not, or his family is not. So and that's just, if you think about it, it's very stupid. So and I follow this logic, then that means he's guilty. Otherwise, why? If you have nothing to do with this, why do you suppress it? Like as if that you are part of it. Anyway, Rainy Fox, thanks for speaking up for Alan Yu. We need justice. Such a horrible 911 tragedy. Really. Thank you for the support. I just have not seen a case as grotesque as this. So, all right. Am I at the bottom of all the questions? I think I am. Yes, someone's Bell just shared that there's no signal in Beijing those days when use test was revealed. Yeah, I heard that they blocked the cell phone signals. So, all right, that's all for tonight. Okay, it's a sad story to share. Hopefully, we'll see the end of the tunnel soon. All right, thank you. I'll see you in 2 days. Bye bye.